Well, there's questions that keep coming up. Are there life forms in the universe? Was the universe made void so that only Earth would have life? Well, this question keeps coming up and up. Did God create life forms? Well, to answer that, let's look in the Bible to see what He says. You know, they want to know how many, they want to know this, they want to know that, but I think the source is to go right back to the Word of God to find out what He says on the matter. And to begin that answer that question in any sensible way, we have to go back to Genesis 2. And in verse 1 it reads, "Thus the heavens and then the earth was created, and all their hosts." Now, some say, oh, well, that heavens is the third heaven where God is. But that's not what it's saying. It says, thus the heavens. Heavens is plural, not singular. Therefore, it is referring to all three heavens. The first heaven is our sky or atmosphere. The second heaven is the cosmos, the universe of all the stars and the created matter. And we have to understand that often when it talks the hosts of heaven or the hosts of the heavens, it's referring to the created universe. The third heaven is located on the other side of infinity, where God's throne and temple are situated. So when we analyze this verse, it says, and then the earth was completed. Well, this was a special creation out of the material that already existed in the universe. It wasn't a special creation from nothing. It was not made out of the as the original universe was made, out of the nothingness of just the voice of God speaking, and it produced it. The earth was created using stardust, where the explosions and everything from the rest of the stars were gathered and made into, through a compression field, they were gathered together and formed the earth. And in the next part of the verse it says, and all their hosts. Well, this part of the verse refers to all the angelic creation from the third heaven, which was completed about 19 billion years ago. It included the universe and all its inhabitants, and it included all the life forms that use the sky of the earth, on the surface of the earth, and in the depths of the ocean. What most people do not want to accept is that it also includes all life forms that live in the great depths of the earth. Life forms that existed prior to Genesis 1 verse 3. These life forms live off the ambient heat or infrared radiation from the Earth's core. They're able to generate their own food because they're that type of a being that can sit quietly and just absorb energy and turn it into the food they need. Like having a plant garden inside of you. In Genesis 2:2, and by the seventh day God completed his work which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. Well, there's a lot involved in this verse. And by the seventh day, God completed his work. This part of verse 2 refers to the completion of aspects of physical creation for mankind. Everything that mankind was going to need was completed on the earth. And implies a preparation that would meet every physical need that mankind would ever have. However, the emphasis is upon his work, which means others were at work against God's plan right from the beginning. And it was working against God's purpose for man. Others would seek to destroy the earth's blessing of increase and also pollute mankind. Now, the earth has been destroyed many times over that 4.5 billion years of its existence. Life on the surface of this earth has been destroyed numerous times. But the life in the depths of the earth still continues. They weren't destroyed. In the latter part of the verse it says, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work. This verse says that the Creator God rested the seventh day or Sabbath day, not just as an example for mankind, but as a witness against the enemies of the recreation of the earth and the creation of man. It was a special witness. It's a covenant witness. And it ends with which he had done. This is mentioned a second time here. This creates shall we say, two-alarm warning of alien interference in the affairs of this planet. It means that the enemies of God will be attacking man on this planet, interfering with every aspect of his life. Verse 2 establishes the background and the boundaries for understanding much of prophecy and why there's so many attacks against the children of God, those that he has created to be part of his kingdom. In verse 3, then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his work, which the Creator God created and made. Then God blessed the seventh day. This means he employed the day as a covenant reminder and a joy. The word blessing means to bring joy into something, or to bring a happiness and a fellowship into it. He gave access to man in this day and every Sabbath day for a relationship with him. No matter what was going on around him, if he kept the Sabbath day, he could come for rest, he could come for protection, he could come for the wisdom necessary to fight the enemies that were trying to destroy him. But if he failed to keep the Sabbath, he would be just fodder for these enemies. The Sabbath thus became a witness to all of the hosts of the heavens, that mankind is his, and who will be defended by him. He's willing to defend them, those that are in his Sabbath day, from the aliens and the other life forms that were created prior to the coming of man. And when he says, in that verse it says, and sanctified it, this means to make holy, to use for a holy or refining purpose, and or to be a doorway to heaven's throne, a holy path to heaven that isn't available through any other day. So when we look at what's said here, and he sanctified it to be a refiner. Now, most people, they're willing to accept anything a demon says or a person that's hostile to God says against the Sabbath rather than keep it, because they are willing to be taken out of the program that God has. They want to be those that are destroyed. And they lose that contact with the throne of God. In the next part of that verse it says, because in it he rested from all his work. Now this part of verse 3 is interesting because it implies that he, to sit back and reflect, number one. Number two, it refers to give thanks and rejoice. 3, to be at one and be one with his creation. 4, it means to close the door to the world's affairs, the world's values, the world's enemies, so they can't come in and attack. 5, a time to enjoy what has been finished. 6, at peace over something's use and purpose. It was perfected to work. It's a completion to work. And 7 is to increase and come together. Now, the enemies of man do not want him to increase or become, receive the benefits of increase. And that is the blessing that was given. When you have dominion over something, it was for the purpose of causing it to always increase. In the latter part of this verse it says, and the Creator God, which the Creator God created and made. This means Jesus, as the Creator God and spokesman, put a seal of approval over everything that he established in this recreation. It was all good for man. There wasn't anything in the recreation that was bad for him. Everything was made good and unpolluted for mankind. Totally unpolluted. However, the need to state it means that the demons, the aliens, and the intelligent life forms in the depths of the earth would move shall we say, to cause things to evolve or carry out items that would make an unclean marriage or mating system unclean in the all the aspects of what had been made perfect was going to get polluted and become hostile to man. if anybody has ever come against poison ivy, poison oak, even poison mushrooms, they will note that those are not friendly items. Mosquitoes, bed bugs are not good for you. They're not friendly. They're not a joy to have around. These are things that were added by somebody else's work. They're genetically engineered to attack. Because God said everything that He made was good for man. So where do these other things come from? It's interesting. All would seek to undermine the Sabbath and thus destroy the purpose of mankind. They wouldn't have that connection to God. In verse 4, this is the account of the heavens and the earth as to when they were created. And then the work of the Creator God performed as He recreated the earth and the sky for man. Now, it's taking this summation verse that declares that everything was created on a timed schedule. What went before and what happened in this 7-day account of the recreation are different. And that when it came time for man to have dominion over the earth had to be terraformed because the previous inhabitants had left the surface destroyed. Or as it says in Genesis 1:2, in tohu and bohu, chaos, confusion, lifeless, not able to sustain. And we know this existed, that something happened about 11,600 years ago. They created an ice age, left over 200% of the ocean on top of the land frozen. 200, it's 2 miles high, but it was so that there was just small little pockets of where heat from the core of the earth was heating bubbles in the ice that formed above it. The surface was uninhabitable. It was ice. And we can see that in the geological history. The trouble is they don't want to recognize what caused that event to happen. And that was another attack on God's throne, which we'll talk about it on another date. But hostile life forms on Earth and in space destroyed the Earth's surface. They continue to do that today. And now the Lemurians and the Atlanteans are using mankind to destroy the Earth again. Some of that is with the use of phosphates, like they destroyed life forms on the surface with this blue-green algae and the crimson tide or the red algae blooms there that happen in the ocean, and they just kill everything and kill the ocean below it. Everything gets killed where that goes. But that's an engineered plankton. It's not a natural formatter. And it eats phosphates. Well, they put phosphates in detergents. They put phosphorus on the land. Different phosphate combinations on the land for fertilizer. Sure, it makes the plants grow. But it also makes the blue-green algae grow. And when it gets to the ocean, it makes the red algae grow. at the current rate of destruction of our oceans, in a matter of 10 years, they estimate that the oceans will not produce enough oxygen for mankind to survive. In 10 years, because of the amount of phosphates being put in. They're putting it on the land, thinking they're doing a good thing by increasing production. But they're not employing the natural filter systems that God established. And if we can look back, we'll see there's great beds of phosphates around the world. Because the Lemurians and the Atlanteans tried killing off the surface of the earth, especially the Lemurians, because they don't need to live on the surface, the Lemurians. They live underground. Atlanteans had to live on the surface. So one was trying to kill the planet off the surface to get rid of the other. And what the Atlanteans did is they sunk the continent of Mu, where the Lemurians lived. There's certain parts of it that stayed above ground. Little bits of Hawaii, New Zealand, Australia, some of the Philippines and Indonesia are little threads of what it was. But when they sunk it, the Lemurians figured out what was going on. They caused Atlantis to sink. And it sunk in one day. It ceased to exist. But they had already put enough phosphates into the system that it created great beds of it in Saskatchewan and different areas around the world. There's great beds of this phosphate. And when it's released into the ocean, it's going to kill the oceans again. And that's what we're doing for them. Thinking that we're helping the world survive, we're actually killing it. We're going to stop the ability of mankind to be able to breathe properly in 10 years. So, the warning was there, right in Genesis. But we have not heeded that warning. Jesus said he will return soon to destroy those who seek to destroy the earth. He hasn't got much time left. We don't have much time left. We need him. You are called to be the light and preserving salt for the earth, so that Jesus will not be forced to curse the earth with the complete death of all life forms on the surface and below before his return. And he said he would do it if the hearts of the children didn't turn back to the fathers. But if mankind didn't put their heart back to the Father, to seek the Father God. In the other part of the question in here, it says how many life forms were created altogether? Intelligent life forms around the universe. It would appear that 1/3 of all the stars with planetary systems still intact have intelligent life forms on them. No number is revealed so far understood in the Bible for the total number of life forms in the galaxy or universe. At least 68 intelligent life forms are considered to be on the earth now, according to the RC Church. This could increase as the days grow closer to the return of Jesus and his kingdom. More could be coming to finalize the interference. So we do pray that you study into this and take advantage of the information given here to grow, because because it begins to make sense of the rest of what's said in the Bible.